a couple minutes, let people come on in. If I see them starting to come in as we're talking.
We've opened the floodgates.
We have, yeah. Awesome. Yep. Come on in and get yourself situated. Make sure your audio is working. That's what we were just doing. And then probably let's give it like 30 more seconds and we'll get started. A lot of these names are familiar from yesterday, so I imagine you don't really need my introduction speech that much, but I'll have to do it anyway. So bear with me. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll just hop in if you're okay with that, Amy. Okay. Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for, let's see, Think Outside on the Ice Age Trail. If I remember correctly is the title. Yep, there we go. It'll be about 50 minutes long. There will be a Q&A session included. My name is Katrina Schlicker. I work for the Wild Rivers Conservancy as the Environmental Education Coordinator. I'll be in the background moderating the chat, helping with technical difficulties, doing anything. But before we get started, I have a few housekeeping notes. There is a chat button at the bottom, which we'll ask you to use a little bit later in this presentation. But if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A little box there at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get to those at the end of the session. Feel free to put questions in throughout the time as you have them. And like I said, we'll just answer them at the end. Just so you know, this is being recorded. It'll be made permanently available on the Wild Rivers Conservancy YouTube account. And with all of that out of the way, I would like to introduce our speaker and give the rest of the time over to them. Please welcome Amy Lord of the Ice Age Trail Alliance.
Hello. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you so much for having me here today. Yes, we are going to talk a little bit about the Ice Age National Scenic Trail and how we can think outside and enjoy it when we are hiking it. Again, my name is Amy Lord. I am the Outreach and Education Manager with the Ice Age Trail Alliance. We are the nonprofit partner, just like Wild Rivers Conservancy, a nonprofit partner. And our mission is to create and maintain, to promote and protect the Ice Age National Scenic Trail. So cool that I get to zoom in today. We've got a map of Wisconsin on screen for you. So I want you guys to kind of take a look at that map. I am zooming in from Cross Plains, Wisconsin. So hopefully you guys saw that red star pop up. I'll do it again. So I'm in Dane County, Cross Plains, Wisconsin. I'm right on the Ice Age Trail, but awesome that all of you could join me here today, no matter where you are located in Wisconsin or the Midwest. So we're going to talk about a few things today. We're going to talk about the Ice Age National Scenic Trail. We are going to talk about geology because there's some really cool glacial features that you can see when you're out hiking the trail. Going to share a little bit more information about the Alliance, what we do, and then we're going to talk about hiking and just some ways to be safe and have fun and get you thinking about what you may see when you're outside enjoying our trail, our green spaces, our parks, things like that. So here we go. On screen, you have the map of Wisconsin. We have a red line on that map. So that red line represents the Ice Age National Scenic Trail. It's pretty long. It is 1,200 miles. So our Ice Age National Scenic Trail is 1,200 miles. And it has a story. And that story, we're going to have to go back a few years. We're actually going to have to go back thousands and thousands of years. So, the story of the Ice Age Trail is the story of the glacier. So, we're just going to talk a little bit about what a glacier is. So, millions of years ago, the climate began to cool. So, it's cold and it stayed cold. And it wasn't just cold for like a season. So, we had winter and now we're moving into spring. Our temperatures are getting warmer. Well, for millions of years, those temperatures stayed cold. It didn't warm up enough to melt the snow. So, what happened is when it snowed, it didn't melt. And then it snowed some more. It compressed, it compiled. So think about having it snow over years and years. And what happened was, as the snow fell, it just became compressed. It became so heavy and so thick, it turned into ice. So, like when you have a snowball and you compress it, and maybe you add a little water to it, and you compress it and you add a little water, and all of a sudden you get this ice, this ball of really hard, compact snow. Well, that's kind of what a glacier is. But instead of a little snowball, think of a glacier as this huge, massive sheet of ice. And our next map shows that huge, massive sheet of ice in the northern continent. So it was so big, it covered what is now most of Canada. It came into Wisconsin because the ice was so heavy, it kind of bulged and it came into Wisconsin. So that red dot represents where I am in southern Wisconsin, the Cross Plains area. So I kind of want you to look at that map, look at that red dot, kind of see where it's at. Where to the north of that red dot, there's ice. To the south, there's not ice. So there wasn't that glacier. So we're talking about our most recent ice age, give or take 30 years ago, 30,000 years ago. So the temperature was cold. We had these huge sheets of ice. We actually call them lobes. So these lobes, these ice sheets that were always moving. Now, they weren't moving fast, but they were always moving. So they'd maybe move forward, they'd maybe retract, they'd maybe move forward. But this is where they came into Wisconsin. And there were multiple ice sheets. So one, two, three, four, five, six ice sheets that actually came into Wisconsin. But then what happened? The temperatures began to rise, the ice began to melt, and we say that the glacier started to retreat. So, this map hopefully resembles this map. So, if we trace, I've got my mouse here, hopefully, you guys can see my mouse. I am tracing where those ice sheets, where the glacier stopped here in Wisconsin. And then I am tracing our Ice Age Trail route. And we want them to look familiar. We want them to resemble each other because the Ice Age Trail follows the terminal moraine, the end of the glacier from our last ice age some 30,000 years ago. So the trail actually takes you through all of Wisconsin and it's showing you what Wisconsin's landscape is like because of the glacier. So those landforms that you see here everywhere in Wisconsin, they're a direct result of the glacier and what it did to Wisconsin's landscape. So pretty neat that our trail is telling the story of the what's going on, what was going on, some 30,000 years ago. So near the end of our most recent ice age, we actually call it the Wisconsin glaciation. A series of ridges formed between two interlobes. So I just did the arrow. So between the Lake Michigan lobe and the Green Bay lobe. And so that's where two big ice sheets kind of came together and collided, southeastern Wisconsin. So those ridges are over 120 miles long. And among them, there's lots of crater like depressions, and they were created by the glacier, the melting ice, the movement, things like that. Geologists named that area the Kettle Moraine. And maybe some of you have been over there, but the Kettle Moraine State Forest was really kind of the birthplace of the Ice Age National Scenic Trail. Um, all the way back into the 1800s, the 1870s, scientists started studying that area because of all the cool glacial features that they found. So the Ice Age Trail kind of started there, and then it grew to this 1,200-mile trail all throughout Wisconsin. So the Ice Age Trail is a national scenic trail. You guys maybe have heard of National Scenic because the St. Croix Riverway is a national scenic riverway. Well, the Ice Age Trail is a national scenic trail. So there's only 11 national scenic trails in the entire country. And there's the Ice Age Trail. It is entirely in Wisconsin. It became designated a National Scenic Trail in 1980. We started building it back in the 50s, but then it received that National Scenic Trail designation in 1980. And there's endpoints, the terminus, the termini. So that's what we call the endpoints. So the western endpoint is Interstate Park, St. Croix Falls. I think some of you may be familiar with that. And then the eastern terminus is all the way over in Door County, Sturgeon Bay, Potawatomi State Park. So the route is kind of set because, again, we're following where the glaciers ended during the last glaciation. But we are still building the trail. So that's kind of a unique thing about us. We're still building it. It's not done yet. But yeah, our interstate park has the western terminus. So I don't know if anybody's been there, but that's what you'll see. It's on the Potholes Trail and it's got a really cool marker. So it's a great place to go and get your photo taken if you haven't seen it yet. So a little bit about the trail, a little bit about the story of the glacier. We're going to talk about some specific features, some specific landforms that are found along the trail because of the glacier. So this is where I would love participation from you guys from the classes. So we're going to do a little quiz where I'm going to read the answer and then you guys can kind of listen to what I am explaining and you can tell me what I'm talking about. So here's kind of how it works. Here's just our example, okay? So a moraine. We've talked about this a little bit because we said the trail follows the moraine. What is the moraine? Well, the moraine is a ridge formed by gravel, sand, boulders that was carried by the glacier and then deposited at the edge or the front of the glacier. So think of a bulldozer. So the ice sheet is the bulldozer and it's just pushing everything in its track. And then all of a sudden it gets to a spot, it stops, and then when it melts, it begins to retreat. Everything that's left that it bulldozed, that is the moraine. And again, the terminal moraine is kind of the end where it ended. So a lot of the Ice Age Trail is along the terminal moraine. We have a video that I'm going to show It's just a little 3D so you guys can see it. So yeah, I'll do it one more time. So there's that bulldozer, right? That huge ice sheet is just pushing everything with it as it moves, the force and the power of it. So then when it melts and it retreats, everything is left. And so you've got this ridge. So that is the moraine. So we have five other features that we're going to talk about. So again, we got A, B, C, D, and E on screen. I am going to say the glacial feature. I can actually put it in the chat too, so we all know what we're talking about. I'm going to read the description, and then I want everybody to look on screen and let me know what letter is it. Am I talking about D? Am I talking about B? Am I talking about A? And then if you would please, maybe each class put the letter in the chat function, and then we'll kind of see how everybody's doing, and then I'll announce the winner. And so, Katrina, if there's any questions or anything like that, you just keep me posted. But that's kind of how this quiz section will go from here. So the first glacial feature we're going to talk about, I'm putting it in the chat function, is the CAME. Kame. So a CAME is a conical hill, a cone-shaped hill. It is composed primarily of water-rounded sand and cobbles that were deposits left by the streams that flowed downward through the shafts in the glacial ice. So a cone-shaped hill that was formed by sand and gravel building up as it fell through the ice. So it's almost like an hourglass, right? So you've got that sand trickling down and it just builds up into a cone shaped hill. So if you guys are, oh, thanks, Katrina, for even writing the description. What letter looks like a came? So I'll give you guys a little time to think about it. Talk amongst yourselves in the classroom. I don't know if you have to have full agreement or if you're just going to go with the majority, but if you want to start putting your answers down in the chat.
We have a couple answers in the Q&A, Amy.
Awesome. Do I see that?
Oh, the chat is disabled. Ah, well,
Oh,
that would be
that's why
why.
nobody's doing it. Okay.
Q&A works.
Katrina.
They'll be in the Q&A.
Okay. Let me open that real quick. Awesome. I got it. Awesome. Wonderful. I see it now. Okay, what do we got? I'm seeing some C's. I'm seeing some C's. I like it, you guys. I'll give it just a little bit more if anybody's got a good guess. Awesome. All right. C is the answer. Good job, everybody. So it's a hill, right? Like, and this hill has a whole bunch of trees on it. But what makes a came is really where it's located. The area that it's located, where there were glaciers. So here's another quick diagram of it. And I've got a video now, everybody. So here's the video for the came. Sorry. Oh, I'm getting quick. Hold on, you guys. My PowerPoint's getting all wacky. There we go. Awesome. Good job. Thank you, everyone, for participating in that question. So that is a came, a cone-shaped hill. So our next one, hopefully you guys aren't paying too close attention because I scrolled forward, but the next one we're going to talk about is a drumlin. So drumlins are elongated hills, teardrop shaped. They were sculpted in the direction of the glacial ice movement. They often occur in groups known as swarms. So these long, kind of elongated teardrop hills, they occur in swarms and they're actually usually up ice. So they formed miles behind the end of the moraine. So you might not see these directly on trail because they're going to be a little more up ice. So awesome. I got a couple answers. So think about those long hills. Think about them appearing together. So there might be a few of them together and they're called swarms. Sculpted in the direction of the glacial ice. Awesome. I'm seeing some good answers. All right. It is D. So if you can see my mouse, here's a drumlin. Here's a drumlin. Here's a drumlin. There's a drumlin. These are really hard to see from the ground. This is actually a photo from an airplane, but you can kind of see them throughout the landscape. So again, the ice flow, and it looks like that teardrop hill. Yeah, so there's the video. And if anybody wants to see the video again, just let me know. Put it in a chat or the Q&A and we can replay it. Oh, there we go. Okay. On to the esker. All right. Esker. Esker. Eskers. Oh, can we play it again? Hold, you bet. We're going to do the drumlin one more time. So there's our drum. Here's our big old sheet of ice, our debris. Just the ice kind of catches on something. So it goes up and over. And the drumlin just is formed by the rocks and the gravel that stay. And we don't really know why they occur together. So that's kind of one of those mysteries. All right. Esker. So an esker is a sinuous, rounded ridge of sand and gravel. So what does sinuous mean? Snake-like. Does everybody kind of know what a snake does? So think about a snake-like ridge of sand and gravel deposited by the streams that flowed through the tunnels at the base of the esker. So some keywords, snake-like. So it kind of winds back and forth of a ridge. So the ridge of that sand and that gravel. And it's almost like an under ice stream. So it's under the ice. So what letter do we think an esker is? Right. So a sinuous, a snake-like ridge. And here's my, okay, I should have given this hint earlier. You can hike along an esker. You can hike on an esker. So if you're questioning what photo, there are people hiking on an esker in the photo on screen. Awesome. Thank you guys for the answers. So there we go. E is our esker. So you kind of see there's even people on the esker. So here's another photo so you can kind of tell. Again, this one's covered by trees, so it's really hard to notice it unless you're really looking for it. Here's another one so you kind of can see that plateau. This is just an image. So you've got that rock, the gravel underneath the ice. So when the ice melts, this is what is left. And here is the video. I'll show it one more time. Awesome. Good job. All right. Two left. So the next one we're going to talk about erratic. ERRATIC, erratic. Erratics are boulders and rocks carried long distances by the glaciers and deposited when the glacier melted. So doesn't matter the size, but large, small rocks that are not from Wisconsin, and they were carried by the glacier in the ice. And then when the glacier melted, they were just deposited. They stayed here. So what letter do we think? Awesome, you guys. I'm seeing some answers. All right. Boom. B. You got it, you guys. Now, I said they can be any size, but let me tell you, big erratics are pretty cool. Not that smaller erratics aren't cool, but the big ones are really cool. So these are erratics. So they are not from Wisconsin. These rocks are not native, right? They're not from here. So the glacial ice picked them up, brought them here, and then when they melted, they stayed. So here is the video. Awesome. Lots of erratics along the trail. Okay, last but not least. So if you were paying attention, you might know what letter is left, but we're still going to read the answer and we're still going to talk about it. So, kettle, Kettle. What is a kettle? A kettle is a surface depression formed by large detached blocks of ice that were buried in the sand and gravel. As the ice melted, the material collapsed and it left a crater like depression. Awesome. So think about that depression, right? And here's a hint, in Wisconsin, a lot of our kettles are filled with water. So kettle lakes. And depending on where you're from, if you guys in that northern part of the Wisconsin, northern part of the state, northeastern, lots of kettle lakes. Those lakes were formed by the glacier. Awesome, you guys. Yes, it is a. So again, many times it's filled with water, sometimes it's not. But here's kind of a diagram when that piece of ice gets buried and then it melts and it creates the depression. Here is the video. So one more time. Good job. So this is our kettle. Lots of kettle lakes throughout Wisconsin. All right, you guys, nice job. Give yourself a hand. That concludes our quiz part of the workshop. So thank you much for listening and looking and answering the questions. So appreciate that. All right, we're going to talk just a little bit now about the Ice Age Trail Alliance, our partners, what we do, and then we're going to dive into what to do on a hike. So there are three main organizations that take care of the Ice Age Trail. Now, there's hundreds of, even thousands of supporters, thousands of members and volunteers and people that care for the trail and work on it and make sure it's the best that it can be. But there are three main organizations that kind of are at the top, that are really looking at the big picture. So, National Park Service. And I know the Wild Rivers Conservancy and the St. Croix National Scenic Riverway work with the National Park Service as well. So do we. So, the National Park Service, the caretaker of America's national parks, they're one of our partners since it is a national scenic trail. We also work with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, so state owned land. So Interstate Park, Straight Lake Park. There might be some state natural areas. So that land that is owned by the state in a public space, we really work with the DNR to help us make sure it's permanently protected and we take care of it. And it's something that everyone can use and enjoy. And then the Ice Age Trail Alliance. So I am a staff member. I'm also a member of the Ice Age Trail Alliance. We have thousands of supporters that help us create, maintain, promote, and support the Ice Age Trail. That's really kind of what we do. We get to do cool things like this, where we're sharing information about the trail with all of you. We do presentations, we do trail building. So, again, we're not finished with the trail. We have about 700 miles done, and we've got about another 450 to go. So, we're out there building boardwalks and stone steps and helping with moving dirt and cutting down trees and things like that. So, that's kind of fun. Here's an example of a before and an after. So this is something we do where it looks like this before, and then it looks like that after our volunteers come in and help. So here's the before. Here's the after. Pretty amazing, right? Here's the before, and here's the after. We also take care of the trail. So there might be storm damage. So this is something where this is not safe for people to be on the trail and to get through. So our volunteers and staff are out there making sure the trees are gone and we're able to get through. So this is my coworker, Dave. He's actually pointing at our trail marker. So he's pointing at where the trail is located. Can you see it? I'll point it out. It's right there. So kind of a mess. So this is what it looks like after Dave and the volunteers have helped clean it up. So pretty amazing on what we do. So if you are hiking the Ice Age Trail, you need to follow the yellow blaze. So that's what it looks like. Give or take a 2x4 rectangle. It could be on a tree, it could be on a post, it could be in town, it could be, out out in a woodland. But our yellow blaze is our trail marker. So you'll hear that a lot if you're hiking the Ice Age Trail. Follow the yellow blaze. Another thing I want to talk about, leave no trace. So these are 7 principles that we ask all outdoor enthusiasts to really look at and think about and make sure we're doing things the best that we can. As we use our spaces outside, we need to make sure we take care of them. So we need to make sure we're leaving them in a better place than they were so the next person can enjoy them just as much as we've enjoyed them. So, little bit group participation right now. In your classrooms, I want you guys to look at these 7 principles, and maybe think about, talk amongst yourselves. What are some of these ways? Like, what does it mean to plan ahead and prepare? What does it mean to dispose of waste properly? What does it mean to leave what you find? Respect wildlife. Be considerate. So pick pick a topic, maybe just one, maybe two, and then talk amongst yourselves to get some ideas. Like what do you think that means? And we're just going to spend maybe like 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And then if anybody would like to put that in the Q&A, awesome. If it doesn't work, that's okay too. But you know, as a class right now, talk about some of these principles and just if there's examples that come to mind. So I got my watch. I'm going to start the timer. So again, talk it up and then we'll come back in about a minute and you can share with some of the things you talked about. All right, go. I love it. I'm already starting to see a comment come in through that Q&A. Awesome. Take about another 30 seconds, kind of get those examples and throw them in the Q&A. All right, we'll come back as a group, but continue putting comments and examples in the Q&A as we continue. So thank you everybody for talking. We've got a couple things in the Q&A. Yeah, don't pick up or take natural things. We are visitors to these places, right? We are visiting someone else's home, the animals, the birds, the bees, the pollinators. So when we take something from there, we're taking it from their home. It's there for a reason, right? So we need to be very conscious of not taking things. Great answer. Taking the trash with you, doing a garbage pickup. Amazing, right? We don't want to see trash when we're out there. So why do you think other people would? So really important to what we say is pack it in, pack it out. Awesome, you guys. Yeah. Don't take the home. Don't move things for sure. Leave what you find. If it doesn't, take pictures. Love that idea. Take the picture so that way you can remember it for future. So lots of ways that we can leave no trace, leave it better than when we found it. So great job, you guys. So when we are on the Ice Age Trail, or really any trail for that matter, we have three main goals. And this is for us, for the Ice Age Trail Alliance, doesn't matter the group, doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter where. These are our three main goals, kind of for everything. Safety, be safe. That is our number one goal. We want you, we want your teachers, we want your parents, the chaperones, anybody involved. We want you to be safe. We want you to have fun because these places are pretty amazing. So we want you to have fun while you're there. We also want you to learn a little bit about the Ice Age Trail. Learn a bit about the trail, learn a little bit about where you are, help build the community of the Ice Age Trail. So, last time to do some talking amongst yourselves. I have um, ideas on how to be safe when you are out hiking or maybe in a public space or in a park. But what do you have? What are ways you can be safe if you are on a group hike with your class or on a hike with your family? Talk about some ways you can be safe and make sure you're safe and having fun with those around you. And this one will be quick. We're doing great on time, but this will be our last opportunity to kind of talk as a group, talk amongst yourselves. So take a little time, talk about how to be safe, and then we'll throw those in the chat, and then I will kind of share some as well. Oh, here we go. Stay on trail. That's a great way to be safe, right? Follow those trail markers. Make sure you're not going off trail and you get lost and you don't know where you're going to be. Sturdy shoes. That's a good one, right? Make sure you have proper footwear, proper attire. Yeah, bring that first aid kit just in case. Always a really, really good idea. Um, yeah, we don't want to throw things at others. That's not very fun or safe. We want to watch where we're going, right? We want to have eyes up. We want to pay attention. We want to be present to where we're hiking. Good things, you guys. Good things. Watch where you're stepping for sure, because it might be rock, it might be dirt, it might be grass, could be roots. So, again, making sure we're paying attention while we're out there. It's easy to get distracted, but always being present is great. All right. We'll see if there's any more really, really good ways on how we can be safe and keep others safe while we're out there. So keep adding those ideas into the Q&A, please. Love to see them. Couple things I came up with. Have a plan. Where are you going? Where are you hiking? How long is it going to be? Do people know where you're going? So make sure you tell someone so they know to expect you back and when to expect you back. So just some of that planning before the hike. Um, Navigation, have a map, have a compass, know the route. Nowadays, there's even apps on your phone, right? But just have an idea of where you're going so you know that navigation. Stay on trail. I heard that a few times. That was awesome. Uh, for this purpose, hike with an adult. If it's your teacher, if it's a chaperone, if it's your family, but make sure you're hiking with someone that is able to help with, the plan, navigation, things like that. We talked about it a little bit. Don't touch anything. We don't know what it is. Let's make sure we ask first. Is it poison ivy or is it just a leaf? Like, there's a reason we say don't touch it if you don't know it. We talked about this already. Leave what you find. So I think that's a great suggestion. Leave what you find, take pictures with your eyes so others can enjoy it as well. Awesome, you guys. Great answers. Thanks for talking amongst yourself. We're going to finish here with just a couple things. So, the Ice Age Trail Alliance has an Explorer backpack. So, this is something you can reserve at some local libraries. So I don't know where everyone is from on this call, but the St. Croix Falls Library has one of our backpacks. So if you're near St. Croix Falls, you can reserve the backpack and it's going to have a whole bunch of goodies in it. It's going to have binoculars, a compass, some identification cards. It will also have the Ice Age Trail guidebook and atlas. So something you and your family can check out and use. I would suggest calling the library first, making sure it's available. But check that out if you're interested. Second, here's what we're gonna finish with. As we've talked about the trail, we've talked about glacial features, we've talked about ways to be safe and have fun. I'm going to ask you guys to think about this. So think about when you are out exploring the trail, the Ice Age Trail or a state trail, or maybe it's just in your own backyard or, playground. What are the things you're going to see? I think it's one of those to slow down and just think about what are you going to see? So, the birds, what color are they? How big are they? What do their feathers look like? What do they sound like? Are there any small things that you really kind of got to look for? Where are they going? What are they doing? It's springtime. What's in bloom? What colors are they? What do they smell like? What do they feel like? So think about that. Pay attention to those blooms and just take a moment to appreciate them. What kind of textures do you see? What kind of colors do you see? Where do you see it? Kind of sometimes we're so quick. We're trying to get to point A to point B. I'm going to encourage you and I'm going to invite you guys to slow down and really see what's out there and just enjoy it as you're there. Lots of different things to see and smell. Looking for those pollinators, especially this time of year. Looking for those animals as we're in their home. So, yeah, think about what are some of the things you are going to see. I do have a couple questions in the Q&A related to ice sheets. How tall were the ice sheets? Give or take between a mile and 2 miles high. So really, really high. How fast did they move? They didn't move fast at all. So not fast, give or I don't have the exact science of it, but they were not moving at the speed that we move in. They were moving very, very slow. How long did it take for the glaciers to melt? Thousands of years. Just like it took thousands of years to form the glaciers, it took that long to have it melt too. So, oh, I got a question. Have I hiked the entire trail? I have not hiked the entire trail. I actually don't even know how many miles I hike, you guys. I don't track it. What is my favorite part? Oh, I think so again, I'm in Dane County, so we have some beautiful trail. So what's really, really cool about my where I work, I have trail right outside my office. So now it's maybe not my favorite part, but I get to hike right outside my office if I need a break. I can walk along the creek and I can walk into the woodland and then I can come back. So it's convenient and easy. So I really, really like that. I have worked at the Ice Age Trail since 2018. So what is that? 7 years. And I've been a member for like 10 or 11 years. So, and I know my time's getting short. So
Yep.
I'll just throw this out here too. The Ice Age Trail Alliance has two youth programs. And some of you maybe are involved, but we have a summer program that's actually through the summer school district. If anybody's interested, I can talk more about that on another time. And then we also have what's called Think Outside. It's for fourth graders during the school year. And I can send information. Katrina can send it out. More, we want to get you guys out hiking the trail. So we have some resources to help with that. So happy hiking, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Amy, for that wonderful presentation. The glaciers are always something that, I think I don't know enough of.
It's hard to kind of visualize it, right? And think
Mhm.
about how big and massive they were, but everything that we see in Wisconsin is somehow related to these huge sheets of ice that were thousands and thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'll be passing along any information that Amy sends my way, and we'll have a quick break, and then at 10:30 we'll get started with our next presenter, who is also affiliated with a national park. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you again, Amy.
thank you.